with Paul Daner, Mark Shalafoo, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush live, that dad life and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, alright? It's the Growler Bet show. It's Who Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Who Dey Light. Paul Daner Jr., Mark Shalafoo here with you on a beautiful, lovely, crisp fall Friday. What's up, Mark?
Not much. I'm excited to be here. I love that we do this at the end of the week because I really get to that fifth stage of grief with this team, which is talking yourself into the defense actually playing well this week. So I'm there.
That's it.
So I'm fired up about that.
It is so true though. The rotation of feelings, like it is an absolute stage where they will never win again is the immediate aftermath that fans have as they're walking out of the stadium, right? Done with the team. I saw a video, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, maybe it was this past weekend, of a guy like taking his jersey off and just throwing it in the trash on the way out of the stadium. Like, people go from there to, by the time you get to Tuesday, you're like still mad. I still think they're not right. And this, and you still want people fired. By the time you get to this point, it's like every fan thinks they're winning on Sunday and right back where they need to be.
Yeah, they've talked themselves back into it. They're looking at the schedule. They're fishing their jerseys out of the trash. They're doing all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, nothing but positivity looking ahead. What flag are you flying today?
Halloween flag is up. The ghost flags. We have a Ghostbusters flag that is part of our entire Halloween staging. We've got we go pretty all out for the entire month of October. We've got the like fake spider webs all on the porch and on the front fence. We've got the big spiders that are like kind of climbing into it. We've got the skeletons that look like they're coming out of the ground in a couple different spots. We've got a purple light. We switch our light to purple on the porch. And then the Halloween, the Ghostbusters flag flies pretty much all month, except for intermittent birthdays and things like that.
You should fly the Ghostbusters flag also later in the year if you see a ghost. That should be the sign of like, hey, everyone, this street is now haunted. So
I've either seen a ghost or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, one of the two. And that's when I'm
surprised you guys go so hard for Halloween, having young kids. Sometimes they get spooked by all that stuff. We've got the 12-foot werewolf at a house a few feet down from us, or a few houses down from us. It's kind of a little overkill. You've got the house with the teenagers that has like decapitated heads hanging from the trees. I could probably do without that one. That feels a little extreme.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite necessary. I actually last year got scammed by an oversized skeleton type thing. It was like a giant, bigger than me skeleton that looks like it's coming out of the ground. And I was like, look at how cool this is. Saw it on like Instagram or something, right? Got targeted. And it's like, you know what? This is the year. I'm doing it. I'm getting it. And it just never came. It was totally an Instagram scam. It just took all my information.
Yeah, nice. You got boomer internet habits where you're falling for that kind of stuff. You're gonna be the guy posting on Facebook, please, this is legal announcement for Facebook, you can't use my photos, please copy and share on your wall. You're gonna be that guy, or selling sunglasses and stuff like that. I didn't realize that you would fall for scams online.
Yeah, well, only good ones, like giant oversized skeletons. Only the good stuff. But yes, Halloween celebration season is here. The motif has taken over our house, and we're all in. We're all in already. But that will, it's a long. It makes it for a long month. Makes for a long journey to Halloween. But we're here for it. We're here for it. Speaking of long journeys, our next live show is before Halloween. Maybe some of you guys will show up in costume. I think that would be something that I could get behind. If we could get some of our Growl pals showing up in costume at BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar down at the Banks before the Eagles game. It is a noon kick for us for the game that's in the 4:00 window with Bengals and Eagles. And we're going to be doing. We're $3 Cincy Lights. We're going to be taking questions. We're going to have special guests. We're going to be giving stuff away. We're going to be playing games. It's going to be a great time. We hope to see you guys. Come on down there. We'll be going for an hour from 12 to 1, and it's going to be an absolute awesome time. I think maybe a costume contest.
Isn't that
we
a
could put in there.
whiteout game though? I mean, are people going to really wear their Freddy Krueger costumes and then have to take that off before going into the stadium?
Oh, look, another ghost. It's kind of, I think, where you end up with it. But yeah, I'm here. Whatever people want to do, if people show up and they do something, whether it's wear Growl Pal merch that they get from our good friends at Cincy Shirts, or if they just show up and just decide they're going to dress up or they've got good questions, we're probably going to give you some free stuff because we've got lots of stuff to give away.
Yeah, it'll be a fun party down there. We always have a good time. So come hang out with us. And, you don't have to dress as a ghost, but if you want to, something good might happen for you. We'll see.
Absolutely. And a reminder, everybody send your questions in. You guys are continue to crush it. So many questions. We're trying to get to as many as we can. We're going to combine a bunch of them here today to get some themes that you guys have. But the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. Make sure to do that. Make sure you are liking and subscribing and getting the notifications of our YouTube page, the Growler on YouTube, and all of that good stuff. So make sure you're following along and everything. And we, of course, love to see you down at the live shows and hope that we will see you down there. Mark, do you have a favorite Bengals story of the week?
My favorite of the week was, I don't know if you saw the video of the old lady Bengals fan that was just harassing Lamar Jackson at dinner. Did you see that whole thing? We're going to beat your ass. Who dey? Like, oh my God. What are we doing? We've made it this far. Zac Taylor's righted the ship. He's gotten Cam Taylor-Britt to stop trolling every team they play. He's got him to shut up. The mayor of Cincinnati, he's finally stopped talking trash about other teams. He's in line. Mike Hilton's not throwing out Burrowhead references. Everybody's kind of on the same page. And you still have the old lady that is just accosting the opposing team's quarterback. What are you doing? We got to get these old ladies in check here. What is happening here? Do you know anything about this story? Did you see the clip?
Yes, I saw Lamar talking about this. So Lamar claims that he was out to dinner with like 3 or 4 or 5 people, and they were supposed to be in some sort of private room, or they were in kind of a semi-private room, but people kind of kept wandering their way in there because the owner kept bringing people in to, like, I don't know, see or say hello. He's like, yeah, and a couple of them were really cool that first came in. They said they were big Louisville fans, even though they're Bengal fans, and good luck to you tomorrow. And he's like, that was cool. He's like, and then this old lady came in and just started heckling, and she was mean, and points out that he specifically was motivated by it, and he hopes that she saw how the game ended. It's like, we got to keep grandmas on their toes around here.
Do you even know what restaurant it was? That's what I couldn't figure out. Any of the story is like,
no.
What restaurant owner is like, oh, we've got these NFL players here. Let's slowly parade my other customers into this private room one at a time. Like,
especially
it's a zoo. What are you
hecklers.
doing? Yeah. What kind of restaurateur is going to do that? And, they're athletes. Let them just dine privately. That's why they need the private rooms, because you get the drunk people that just want to accost them. And the fact that, like, she really sat in it, too. It wasn't like she threw out one little good-natured, we're going to beat you guys. Just kidding. Enjoy your dinner. We're all adults here. No, she just, like, sat down and really soaked it up and kept the trash talk going. And just a very bad look for us. And it is frustrating having the fan base represented by, people like that, or a mayor stepping out of line. Like, that sort of thing is frustrating. It cost them. It cost them. You can't have these grandmas running loose.
You know what? The stiff arm on Sam Hubbard was just the little bit of extra adrenaline rush strictly provided by drunk grandma.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that an insult on Sam Hubbard? Are you saying he moves like a grandma on the field? Is that what you're trying to allude to?
I'm saying that Lamar did not have the energy to do that stiff arm if it was not for the drunk grandma driven little bit of extra adrenaline rush that Lamar
he was
got
channeling
just when
that
he had
for sure.
to have it. Yeah.
And maybe, we need to use this to our own advantage and get some opposing fan grandmas to talk some trash to Joe Burrow. I don't know if he says he can play at a higher level. I did see him say that this week. I didn't think he could. He'd been playing great, but maybe that's what we need to get him over the top, is just some Giants grandma this weekend to just really talk some shit to Joe Burrow at John's Pizza or something like that.
Well, I mean, if there's a town to go to and just know that probably at some point you will get drunkenly heckled if you walk around long enough, it probably is New York, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's plenty
Yeah.
of crazies out there. I don't know if they'll even be coherent enough to get enough trash talk to make it motivational. I don't know. What was your favorite story this week?
My favorite story this week came from so we have Jamar Chase today. His first podium for Jamar Chase.
How'd you feel about that? Different rhythms.
Love that, actually, for him, because the problem that's happened with Jamar is he draws just as big a crowd as Burrow. It's very reminiscent of the Chad days, in that the crowd would all be awaiting Jamar's spiel, his shtick that week. And Jamar doesn't have as much shtick as Chad did at the end, but people want to hear what he has to say. So he's got Burrow-like crowds, and when you're at your locker, there's just not enough room. There's too many people that want it. People are like on stools. There's multiple boom mics over top of everybody. I like balance my recorder on someone else's head so that I can get it closer in. You know, it's too crowded, and that's been a problem for actually a while. Maybe, you know, it's been over a year. It's probably been an issue, and so moving him to a press conference, it is much easier on everyone. Jamar being comfortable, everybody. That's great. I loved it when it did first come out. People thought that, oh, what? There's a Jamar press conference. What's going on? What's going to happen? Like, no, it's mostly because it's very uncomfortable for everyone to be having to like be pressed up against each other and all those sweaty, not physically fit media bodies all having to squeeze into that space. He was up there. So you get the Jamar, very much like the Chad attention. He's really quickly just kind of morphing into Chad is what is my favorite thing that's happening this week. We get him talking today about how, you know, he eats horrible and plays good. So he doesn't really focus that much about eating. I mean, it's just if he would specifically say the word McDonald's, you would have Chad to a T. And then he's also just racking up random fines that he can't even keep track of anymore. A fine letter showed up to him this week, and he didn't even know what it was for. It says something about a violent gesture, but he doesn't know anything about a violent gesture. They said it was the second quarter. He doesn't know what that could even be for. This is just like the Chad days. You've got him eating McDonald's, racking up fines, having large crowds that want to hear every word that comes out of his mouth. He's just turning into Chad. Just a little bit at a time, one character trait at a time. It won't be long. He'll be like on Uncle Shay Shay's nightcap or whatever and hanging out in there. It feels like that's the next stop.
So you think we're going to get like a name change and really escalate that to get to that next level for him? I did see him talking about the food stuff, which it is fun when you see certain guys. I think maybe Tee Higgins was talking about that during the offseason about like getting his body right and doing all the right things. And that's what I love when you get the total opposite of that, when, you know, guys like Jamar are just like, I eat Joe Ellis chicken and then I take a short little pass 80 yards for a touchdown. Who cares? You know, I do whatever I want. And that's not to say that he's not he did go into great detail about the other work that he puts in on his body and the massages. I saw all that stuff. So it's not like he's not putting work in, but I do love that he can just flaunt the diet and do whatever he wants there. Hey, it's inspiring.
Look, yeah. I mean, if he plays like that, I don't think anybody really care. I think his point is proven, and Chad's was too back in the day. Some people just don't even, it doesn't matter as much. Maybe it will eventually, but it doesn't for Jamar right now. As Dan Pitcher said, this week to us, talking about that 70-yard catch and run, he was put on this earth to do that. Like, that is, there just aren't people that can just do that. And he's playing pretty special football right now. Whatever he's putting into his mouth, there's no question. But I do love the slow morphing into Chad. You're right. Blonde, mohawk, and name change on deck next year for Jamar once he gets his very large deal. All right. Before we move forward, we've got to talk to you about our good friend and yours. You know who he is, our guy, Eric Stanyo. Sure, Joe Burrow throwing for 5 TDs is fun, but as the Growl pals know only too well, without a solid defense, you might lose the game. The same goes for real estate. Don't just win on the price. Make sure your marketing, negotiations, and closing process are just as strong.
At Team Stanyo, we know that selling or buying a home is like a football game. You need both an explosive offense, like pricing and marketing, and a tough defense, like contract negotiations and inspections, to seal the deal. Don't settle for a one-sided approach. Work with a team that brings both offense and defense.
With Team Stanyo, we're your complete team, ensuring every aspect of your home sale or purchase is covered, from pricing to marketing to negotiation. Don't drop the ball or the field goal snap. Work with a team that brings both offense and defense.
Ready for a winning season in real estate? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and call, text, or email us today. info@teamstanyo 513-813-6293. That's our Stanyo this week.
That's our Stanyo this week. Also, do want to shout out the Grow Pals, who, I don't know if you saw this, where Terry Francona said that he was looking for a place, wants to be down near the stadium or whatever.
Oh, I did not see that. Yeah.
And the first thing that happened was someone popping up saying, "Someone get him hooked up with Stanyo. He is your guy." And Stanyo immediately subtweeting and making sure Terry knows I am here for you. So if a Grow Pal hooks Tito with Stanyo, and it can be Tito's in the clan, I mean, it only feels too natural here that this happens, and it'll be a huge shout out to the Grow Pals if that happens.
Stanyo's not just a Grow Pal real estate agent; he's the realtor to the stars. That's Stanyo.
Could be, absolutely.
But he's our guy. So we crushed his live read.
Make sure you're checking out his YouTube page. All the stuff you could ever want to know about neighborhoods, market, everything there is to know about Cincinnati and real estate here. He's got you covered over there.
I mean, the bottom line is everybody knows somebody that is buying or selling a house that needs a realtor, someone you can trust. He's our dude. Look him up, call him, that sort of thing. There you go.
No question. All right.
You ready for some questions?
I know they were the pals are coming in hot this week. The angst level is high. It's very tense out there. What do we got?
All right, we're going to start with this one is from Michael. He says, "Hi, Paul and Mark. I was at the game this past Sunday against the Ravens, and yes, the loss was difficult. I understand all the angst from being 1-4 and how it makes the math to make the playoffs bad. Am I crazy, though, for thinking we aren't in a terrible place? The defense is definitely below average, and I was feeling nervous after the Commanders game, but the Commanders and Ravens have been doing that to everyone recently. All I heard all week was how Derrick Henry was going to run all over them, yet they kind of contained him pretty well. The offense is playing extremely well right now, and I'd argue they still are not at their peak. All I see on Twitter and other outlets is people calling for Zac's firing, blowing everything up, and asking you guys to ask the tough questions. Zac's not perfect, but the facts are he has the Bengals playing hot at the end of the season every year. His last 3 years are Super Bowl loss, AFC Championship loss, and 9-8 getting hot down the stretch without Burrow. But let's fire Zac. People are misguided, in my opinion. The Bengals are good enough to make a run, and I think they probably will. Was just thinking about you all and how it's probably been a difficult sky is falling week. Hopefully the fans can start being a little more rational. I love the podcast and all the coverage you provide. Have a great week, Michael." Optimism out of the gate.
Optimism out the gate. How about that? Yeah, I appreciate that. Somebody's got to stay solid. It can't be everybody to be out here screaming that everybody must go. All things must go.
What I do love about this is it was like 4 paragraphs, and the only question in it came like 2 sentences in. He's like, "Here's my question, and now here's 4 paragraphs about what I think is the answer to the question." Yeah, but how do you take it? Are they? Is he crazy?
No, I don't think he's crazy. And on Monday, I sort of wrote that, and I was joking with a couple of people as I was in there on Monday, saying, I think I might end up having the only optimistic story in the entire market today, but that's like genuinely the way that I am viewing it. And I talked about that a little bit with Jay and with Mo on Tuesday, of just look at the AFC, man. Like, who's Kansas City, Houston, Baltimore? I think there's a level there. Buffalo maybe's in that boat, but we saw Baltimore just absolutely house them.
Yeah.
Who do you like? Who's running away with the wild card here? I mean, Pittsburgh, Denver, the Chargers, the Harbaughs, like Jets just fired their coach. Vegas, Miami, with whatever the hell they are, they're a mess. The Fighting Flaccos in Indy, Callahan, like what are we talking about? You don't think that Burrow, with the way that he's playing and their schedule, can't put together enough wins to chase down a wild card spot and be really dangerous team that no one wants to see? No one wants to see Burrow in the playoffs. At this point, that's what this is about. The season's expectations as the regular season has changed. They at one point probably hoped they'd be like battling Kansas City for the top seed. No, this is find a way in the tournament at this point. They've gone so far the wrong way early in the season. They've now just reached, as long as you can find a way in and have some things going your way and be playing this way offensively, by the time you reach January, feel like you've got a chance. See last year's Packers, right? Like that's the great example. They struggled. They got hot. They made it into the tournament. And next thing you know, they're posting 48 in Dallas and they're making their way to, making a run. And I just, they almost had San Francisco beat in the divisional round. Like that's kind of the model I think you're looking at right now, if you're talking about really the most optimistic view. And so I think there's certainly hope in that, just because the conference is back and their schedule is much easier. They're not playing Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson a bunch of times. They're playing Lamar one more time, and it's the only real offense they're playing again. That doesn't mean that their defense is suddenly going to be good, but I do think it will be good enough that as long as the offense keeps doing what it's doing, they're going to win more than their fair share. I don't know if it's too steep, but I don't think that it doesn't feel as bad as you thought it would, because I think partially of the way that they played. I mean, when you think about it, I did a story this week. It's out right now on The Athletic, and it was just canvassing everybody I could find to ask that I feel like knows ball a little bit, to try to explain what they think the biggest problem with the defense is and what they think the possibility of it being salvageable is. And there was some really good stuff in there, but a lot of it was focused on the fact that they're not that far off. Like, if you think about the flukiness of Kansas City and Baltimore, imagine if they were 3-2 with wins over Kansas City and Baltimore right now. I mean, they're a 4th and 16 and a hold away from that. And so they're 1-4, and it does feel awful. But if you look at the type of team they have the type of team that could easily rip off a bunch in a row because of the way the offense is playing. I don't think it's a terrible spot. It's not great. No one wants to be there. But when you think about the kind of recentered, recalibrated expectations, how kind of mad the entire AFC is, nothing feels that far out of reach at this point. I mean, it certainly would feel much different if they lose to Daniel Jones on Sunday night. At some point, you got to win a damn game. But you can explain away a lot of where they're at right now and still see the path back. But it does have to happen now. I mean, there's no Jamar kind of talking about that today. Like, this has to be the standard this Sunday. It has to happen now. He's not wrong. Yeah, I mean, it does have to start happening now. You can lose to Baltimore by a hold, but you can't then go and. That's the problem, is you can't have 1 week where you let up now. Like, you can't have the clunker in Cleveland next week. You can't have, a weird loss to the Raiders in a few weeks. You can't. There's no room for error anymore on that.
And that's the problem. I mean, you make a good point. Like, if it is 3-2, if that 4th and 16 and the whole go differently, yeah, the conversations are going to be great around this team, because you were missing, Hill and Rankins for a good chunk of that. And, getting those guys back, getting Chris Jenkins more experience, Miles Murphy back, like all of a sudden, it starts to look a little bit more palatable. But, the bigger trend is this just a team that find ways to play down to their opposition and find ways to lose? And so that's what we're going to start to find out real quick. Like, are they in an awful place? They're not in a great place. But, with Joe Burrow playing as well as he has, with that offensive line playing so well, when you've got Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins, and the defense at least has pieces there, You can talk yourself into them they don't have to be great for this team to win a lot of games. I'm not even sure they have to be good for this team to win a lot of games. They just can't be
like I said earlier this week, they just can't be dog shit. That's it.
I mean, I would have said that. I didn't know we could say that on our show, so I was really trying to dance around it.
CBD, we could call it. We could just say CBD and shorten it. We can go with that. Just CBD is all you need. Can't be dog shit. That's it.
So we had a little bit of optimism with our first question. Now we're going to Scott. He says,
let's go in on it though a little bit more. Let's go.
He's wondering if or at what point do we become sellers and try to get a draft pick for Tee Higgins? Is now the time? What if we lose one or both of the next 2 games? What's the deal? Are we going to trade Tee?
I don't think so. It's not now. I mean, it would be at the deadline. The deadline is election day. So you're a little less than a month away from a potential to make a deal there. I think they would almost have to lose all the games. It's just not something they do. And I know that no one wants to hear that because they have done a lot of things differently. They want them to do things differently. The trade deadline is not what it was 5-10 years ago. It's more active. You've seen many examples of teams using it to really boost playoff runs, whether we're talking about Roquan Smith or we're talking about Christian McCaffrey. Some big, really important deals have happened at that point in time. This team, and Duke Tobin in particular, is not going to wave the white flag on this season in a month. Even if they're 0-4 the next 4 weeks, and it is just doomsday everywhere. They're 1-8, right? Don't forget, in 2019, they knew they were rebuilding. They had a new coach. They were winless. They had Geno Atkins and AJ Green, who were not a part of the plans going forward, who were aging superstars. People were offering things for them. Again, I'll repeat, they were winless. They had no hope. B.W. Webb was playing corner. Okay, like LaShawn Sims was getting snaps. This was not a team that had any shot of doing anything. They benched Andy Dalton on his birthday. Like, it was just a debacle. And they still were like, no, not going to make anybody else's team better. Here for these guys, right? That just sticks with me. I'm sorry. Like, you can make it make sense. It makes sense. Like, if they were 1-8, if they were terrible, if it's clearly over, yes, like he's not in your plans, that would make all the sense in the world. You can get something for him. You should do that. Do it now, right? I just can't get past what we know about them. And that is what we know about them, that they don't involve themselves in the deadline. They're not going to wave the white flag on a season no matter what. And that means that Tee Higgins stays. So I don't see any situation where they trade him. Certainly not in the next couple of weeks. So I know that people start going down that route, and I would make a real argument, and it would depend more situationally on where they're at then, that they should. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world if he's not in their plans for next year. But I just try to live in the reality that we're actually in. And I just don't see that.
I mean, if he's not in their plans for next year, like, there's a pretty reasonable argument to trade him before the start of the season. And there was never anything happening in that direction. What about this, though? What if, let's say Jermaine Burton actually did read his playbook and was a big factor from the get-go? Do you think there might be a bigger chance of it then if, like, they were struggling to get Burton on the field? Because right now, without Tee Higgins, the Jamar Chase is just going to get all the attention, and he's just going to get completely shut down. So you can't get rid of Tee Higgins if there's any hope at salvaging the season at all. What if Burton had
would be the
become
guy
a dude?
to take those snaps? I mean, he'd be the guy that would play there, but they'd have to trust that he could go do it. I mean, I don't.
Even if he was a dude and kind of hard to keep off the field from the get-go, you still think that they would have?
I don't see that. I don't think it affects it. I think it's just really important to them for fans to never think that they've given up on a season. I mean, I think I talked about this earlier this week. I mean, don't forget, the Burrow Bowl in Miami. Like, everybody knew they needed to lose that game. Everybody knew they wanted Burrow, and there they were coming back and trying. I mean, they don't want it to ever feel like, and that was a lot of players, but as a team, as an organization, they want to feel like they're going out every week trying to win games, period. That's how they view the football season and their obligation to fans. And part of that being not trading one of their best players when they're still under contract and there's an ability to go win games.
Our next question, staying on the theme of organizational strategies and accountabilities. This next question, we're going to combine a couple here from Bruce and Paul here. So these kind of hit on the same theme here, right? So they're both kind of frustrated with the management of this team. 9 of the last 13 top picks have been on defense, and the unit is not close to NFL standards from top to bottom. Dax Hill was a failed safety, moved elsewhere. The safety position remains a huge issue. Blah, 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 blah. Free agents, Nick Scott, Sheldon Rankins, Geno Stone, all seem to be pretty big misses. So with everybody around the NFL, including you, lauding Trey Brown as a sharp, modern NFL mind, what are the chances that somebody like Duke Tobin is held accountable for the dreadful recruitment on defense and that Brown might get a promotion? Side question to this too is, how come Duke Tobin and his staff seems particularly inept at drafting linemen, both on offense and defense? So if you were in charge, what would you do differently? Just a double. That's a big Duke Tobin combo there for you.
Yeah, Duke's not going anywhere. I mean, I wrote about Duke a couple of not this past draft, the one before that, on just sort of on how he views the family, how he is viewed by the family. He is family, and people want me to tell them something different. Like, people want me to tell them that Duke Tobin could get fired. He could. It's just not going to happen. Like, it's just not. For the same and it's partially for the same reason that Forever Marvin didn't. And that's not comparing Duke to Marvin. That's just saying, like, there's loyalty to people that they feel like have done and are doing the job they want them to do, a good job. This team was just in the Super Bowl. Duke built that team. There was the free agency where they couldn't miss. They've had drafts that have not been great. They've also had some hits, and they had drafts that were very good there for a while. Drafting goes up and down, man. Sometimes you need to hit on draft classes. You don't, even the best don't hit on every single one. That's not making an excuse for the long run that they've had in the area that this question talks about. But they are not going to view Duke as doing a bad job right now. They don't. And so maybe there's some dissatisfaction with the way some players have developed, some of the picks, whatever, but they're not going to look at the totality of what they have been and are as a franchise over the last 5 years or whatever since Burrow got here and be like, man, that Duke guy's lost. They don't. I mean, there's not going to have that kind of a knee-jerk recency. They're going to stress continuity. They're going to want him to be there as long as they can and feel like they believe in him as an evaluator and as a GM. So for that fact, it's not happening. I know people are mad about that and want there to be more accountability and more feeling like they could move on from him. I don't see that. It's not something that I think that could happen. Now, have I talked to Mike or Katie or anybody up there specifically about this recently? No, but because I don't need to. I know enough about this. That's where that stands, so to speak. The drafting of the lineman thing this is a great question, because you're asking me what I would do. I would absolutely add a position. Well, I'd add more than one position, but it's my department. I would add a couple of people who very much have a extreme expertise in the trenches, specifically offensive line, but really just give me a couple of people that can be consultants almost on evaluation and development of offensive linemen, of picking them, somebody that you trust, somebody that's got some skins on their wall there, and somebody that can work in cohesion with your offensive line coach, whether it's Frank Pollock today or somebody else down the line, and your coordinators and all of that. I would like to see someone who oversees the drafting of trench players, of offensive and defensive linemen, a part of the scouting staff. I feel like they have missed enough badly to say that would be something that needs just a fresh approach on, right? Like, look, because you look back at their picks, and we've done this a ton, so I don't want to beat this like a dead horse here, but like, it's not all the picks. You know, they have a lot of they have typically done really well at skill positions. You know, Tee Higgins at 33. They took him over Michael Pittman and a bunch of other guys and knew what they were doing there. Logan Wilson, another nice pick. Jamar Chase, people can say it was a slam dunk. Sure as hell wasn't a slam dunk at the time. You know, they had to know where to rank him amongst Chase versus Sewell. It's not like act like that didn't live in our lives for 6 months.
Wasn't that the draft where Pitts went like right before?
Pitts went fourth. Yeah, they had to,
I
mean, you'd have all of that straight. You go to let's see. Say what you want to about Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt. They've had their moments. You know, Cam's regression has been a big storyline this season, but Dax, it didn't work at safety, but he seemed to be finding himself at corner. He's an athletic dude. I'm not saying that pick is a hit yet, but I think he was proving himself to maybe be a little bit more of one once he finally got settled in the right place. Andre Yosivas in the 6th round. Chase Brown appears to be a dude. 5th and 6th round picks there last year. Eric All appears to be a dude.
Oh yeah, that's a big hit.
You've got a lot of hits in there, but they're not a lot of offensive and defensive lineman hits, which have been whiffing for a long time, and we've done that list a bunch. So I'm not going to go down that again. But that to me has been the weakness. I don't feel like they have an overall weakness. I feel like they could just use some fresh eyes on their evaluation of trench play.
Yeah, and that's even, I mean, this year, like if you look at Mims, he's been having a great season. And you look at, you said that you can't really, a lot of people, not that you said this, but a lot of people said you can't go wrong with no matter which of these guys you're taking here. Some of those guys haven't looked great. Some of those first round tackles, and Mims has looked really solid. So that could be a hit. But even with Mims being a big hit, you know, like having that extra evaluator for the trenches, probably 2 of them, like you were saying, is going to go a long way, because there's not a lot else, not a lot of other hits, especially later rounds. Maybe Matt Lee turns into a long-term player. Maybe he's got some potential as a center down the road, but there's not a lot of those other late round trench guys that have ever developed in anything.
I can already hear Duke Tobin's voice, and every time we've ever talked to him, I don't need more voices. I need the right voices. I mean, I know what he says, but I feel like maybe he should find the right voice to help out with offensive and defensive line. That's all.
Our next question, this is from Growl Pal in New Zealand. Long-time listener, first-time caller, he writes. Already messed it up. He's an emailer. Come on, New Zealand. He says he's a longtime Bengals fan, started watching the NFL with some mates around 2000, 2001. Like to root for the underdog. At the same time, the Bengals were the biggest underdog, so he's been learning a lot about Cincy from the podcast. He would love to get here someday to watch a game. Great start. Liking where this is going. Now he's got a run, pass, or boot here. He says in the early part of the Zac Taylor era, we saw some great free agent signings, Hendrickson, Reeder, etc. However, outside of Orlando Brown, the last few off seasons have not been good. With that in mind, run, pass, or boot, the worst free agent signing of the Zac Taylor era between Nick Scott, Irv Smith, or Geno Stone.
Well,
worst
wait,
free agent signing.
no, hold on now. Does he not have Trey Waynes in here?
Yeah, he said he was leaving him out.
Why?
Leaving out Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander. And he said he wanted to stick Bobby Hart in there, but that was the previous regime. I don't know why you would just get a free pass for that one, but maybe he wants to make the question a little bit more interesting, because that'd be an obvious one.
Yeah, I mean, they got to wear Trey Waynes. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah,
With that money, yeah.
that's too easy. That's too easy for me. Yeah, I mean, Irv Smith. That's a hard one. I mean, we all try. Irv Smith and Nick Scott kind of both, but I feel like they were really, really trying to make Irv happen without any other clue what they were going to do. At least with Nick Scott, they had drafted Jordan Battle
Yeah.
and said, like, look, let's get some insurance of somebody we can get in there. It's just a placeholder. Irv, they were like, we'll get it out of Irv. We're here for it. And there was no sense that people were, people were really
Hudson
taken
is
by
the
his
fan
athletic prowess, saying, if he could just stay healthy. But if you really talk to people in Minnesota, they were like, yeah, I don't know that you want that. Turns out they didn't.
Yeah, Joe Burrow taking on Mulcahy, but yeah. So that's the worst. What? How
I'm still giving. I'm still giving Geno Stone time. I mean, we're five games in. He may end up being the guy here because of what considering how much they invested in him. If he doesn't start playing better quickly, he could be worse than these two. But I'm still going to give him time to get a little bit more acclimated and comfortable with everything that's going on, and maybe not miss every tackle. Maybe that improves. So I'm going to give Geno Stone time. I think he can still be a solid player.
I mean, we knew the defensive line was going to be an issue, stopping the run. We kind of see the writing on the wall. Then those injuries start stacking up, and you're like, wow, I don't know what we're going to do here. But we took the safety play for granted. We thought like Von Bell and Geno Stone, that's a winning combo right there, and the improved communication. And Geno Stone's a ball hawk. He's going to make plays for you, and that's just not coming together. It's not coming together like it was supposed to. And
no,
that's
it's
frustrating.
Not. No, the safety position has continued to turn over and make everybody do what? Let's relitigate Jesse Bates over and over and over again. We've all done it. We're all
curse of Jesse
doing
Bates.
it. It's hard. It's hard when every time Jesse plays, he makes plays and he looks more and more like the best safety in the league. And they had him.
Yep, he's been fantastic. Our next question, he wants you to get into somebody's ear to the next kicker to get free pizza for the whole stadium to try and change the vibes and change the fortune. And he says, Who Dey Light rules. So I think he's alluding to your what we discussed in the spring about the free pizza promotions and how we can incorporate that into the Bengals, which I think you talked about on Mo Show this week, right?
Yeah, Mo and I did. Well, I don't want to take any credit for it. Mo wants to do punts for pizza, where if you could just force, it's like if they could just force a punt. So just 4 punts in a game, like not asking for much. If they can get to 4 punts, feels like that he felt like they were going to win. So this should be punts for pizza. You hang the little like peas up in the corner. He initially wanted to call it the pea corner. I didn't think that was a great idea. I felt
not
like
a good idea.
Probably do better than that. But punts for pizza, punts for pints. Someone suggested to me. I think it was an email sent to me that maybe punts for pints would be a good one to go if you want to get like somebody like our good friends at 50 West or Mad Tree or get Cincy Light on board. Could be something you could get going on there. 4 Ps, or you could have 4 famous punters from their history. Obviously, the 4th P would be Kevin Huber, legend.
Oh, yeah.
But, you get some old punts, some Lee Johnson, get some Brian Larson, maybe even the, I'm not sure what, I don't know. Drew Crispin's doing too much weird stuff. I'm probably not going to put him up there, but I mean, we could go deep into the archives of the punting days and get them all up on there. So he had that idea. It was a great idea. It was one that we did originally touch on. We were focusing on false starts, I believe, back in the one we did.
Yeah, we were circling around it. We kind of had the right idea. We were really trying to generate some momentum for a brilliant idea. I mean, you were the guy that did it for the Reds, and I know you don't get the appreciation and recognition that you should have for kind of making it happen there. But so I do feel like you should have gotten credit for it here. But if you could make that happen, this would really, this Growl Pal fan.
I can't. All I can do is continue to talk about it, and Mo as well, because it is a great idea. It's kind of weird that they haven't. Punts is a great one to go with to get people excited on 3rd down for the possibility. So for that fact, Make it happen.
Yeah,
Make it
like
happen.
a mid-season
Come on.
promotion.
Yeah, totally.
You're going to New York this weekend. Do you have a road
Yes.
trip preview for us?
Yeah, so fun one for me. This is kind of it's not exactly one that's going to be helpful to Bengals fans. I'm actually going out a little bit early, flying out a day early. One of my best friends lives in central Massachusetts, and so gonna drive, actually flying into Newark and then just doing a nice fall drive through the New England area, taking some colors on the trees, that and the other. Yeah, some foliage. No, we're gonna play some golf, so gonna be able to get a couple of rounds of some fall New England golf in. Hang out with my buddy. A million great college football games are on Saturday, so gonna be good catching up with him. And then with the Sunday night game, plenty of time. It's only a couple hours from Central Mass down to Newark, so gonna just drive on over and have plenty of time to get there on Sunday, and I'll be there early. So I'm not doing any of the New York stuff, but taking advantage of how close in proximity so many great places are when you go up to into the East Coast.
So if any Growl pals are going to the game, just go early and go meet up with Paul in Massachusetts, play golf with him and his buddy. It'll be a real Growl pal outing. Just invite yourself onto it.
Yeah. No,
I mean, if somebody shows up to the golf course in a Growl pal shirt, you'll probably let them join the foursome, right?
Yeah. Hey, look, if anybody lives in the Shrewsbury, Massachusetts area, let me know. The Growler Podcast at gmail.com. We'll arrange something. Okay.
I don't know if you should have gone full bat signal on that. I feel like you should have made them do a little bit of homework, start stalking all the courses in Massachusetts in their orange Growl Pal shirts.
I think that's enough. I think that's as close as we're going to get. But I'm very happy to. If someone's around, hey, let's have a drink.
Right? Well, if you were going to spend your time in the city, what recs would you throw to people for New York?
You know, I don't get into. You're the New York guy. I gotta count on your recs. I would be asking you because I don't get into New York often enough. I've been in there a few times, but that's one that I haven't fully explored. Partially, whenever the Bengals go there, I never go into the city. The stadium is out. Right. The stadium is out in New Jersey. It's out by the airport in Newark. So I just fly into Newark, go to the game, stay by the airport, and go home. So I never actually get into the city typically when I've gone there, and I haven't gone there in a little bit anyway for a number of different reasons. So I'm counting on you.
All right, so I'll take the baton then, having lived in New York for 5 years as a stand-up. A few of the quick recs that I'm going to throw out. The subways are a lot easier than you think they are if you've never been to the city before. That really intimidates a lot of Cincinnatians, a lot of Midwesterners. It's really not that tricky. You can get around. There's not that many crazies during the day. It'll be fine. I mean, there's always the option to Uber everywhere or try and grab a cab if that's your preference, but you can get around on the subways. If you're doing the touristy stuff, like no judgment here. I know that it's a cool thing for a lot of people to do, to visit the city, hit up Central Park, do all the Times Square stuff. Don't go to the Times Square Applebee's. That'd be kind of my rec. At least try and elevate your experience a little bit. John's Pizza is in the theater district. That's a solid one. I've taken many visitors there before. I think I've been there with Mo when he came to town for Knicks games. So we stopped there. It's a good pizza spot. Comedy Cellar in the East Village too. That's where your West Village. That's where you want to go for stand-up comedy. The best comedy club in the entire country. It's it's a showcase club, so you're not quite sure who's going to be on the lineup for every show. There's usually some, famous people that you'll know, but it's also the club that you'll get like the Chris Rock drop in and stuff like that. Or, Nate Bargatze's in town getting ready for SNL. He'll pop into the Cellar every night. That's everybody's favorite club. So you go there and just know you're going to see a great show, and probably somebody famous will drop in on that. It is definitely a smart move. And the last rec that I always told people from out of town too is if you're doing the touristy stuff, skip the Statue of Liberty. It's not worth it. You can get on the Staten Island ferry for free and go over and back and see it enough that you'll save yourself a lot of time that way.
We mentioned this earlier in the week. It was Jay's Arby's, I believe, or we were talking about it. Hey, look out for the Lou Anarumo tailgate. The Anarumo is going to be 100+ Anarumos out in the MetLife parking lot with the biggest spread of delicious Italian food. They've already been there preparing it all week. We've heard stories about this. So they're out there somewhere. I don't know where. They're going to be in the parking lot out there. So if you see a bunch of people that look like Lou Anarumo, go up there and support, I guess. See if you can get some cutlets.
Yeah, break into that tailgate. A Sunday night football game. That's some good tailgating too. Like they're gonna get after it. My last New York recommendation would be if you're gonna give birth to a child, Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side. Get a nice little recovery room overlooking Central Park. I highly recommend it. So.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Growler Bet, reminder for those that didn't listen to PD and J yesterday. Jay and I went through the Growler Bet. You send your submissions to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com, or you can use hashtag Bengals Growler Bet on Twitter. This week, our Growler Bet is something we've never done before. Predict the final score. Final score. If you get the correct winner score, your other score just has to be within 3 points. We're trying to create a little bit more winners. So correct winning score, and the other score has to be within 3. And that is this week's Growler Bet. We've never done final score before. So really just unprecedented times, really.
You know what, though? I like it because we're 5 games into the season. We've had one winner, and that's when you have to start evaluate things and like, how are we going to make this better? What are we going to do differently? Lou's going to blitz on 41 plays and send guys after the opposing quarterback. He's going to mix things up a little bit. They've got to find some answers, just like you guys got to make the Growler Bets easier so we can get more winners around here instead of just loss after loss. Like we were stacking them in that early part of the season.
That's what we're here to do. We want winners. We want winners. I want more winners coming down to our next live show down before the Philly game. So we need you. We need you. Where are you at? Are you in town this weekend?
I am. I'm breaking my only stand-up rule this weekend. Ooh. I'm doing stand-up in downtown Loveland, Ohio.
Wow.
This Saturday is part of their big Return of the Frogman event the city's putting on. So I'm doing shows at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., just smaller shows. Little pop-ups. So I think I'm at Bishop's Quarter, which is a very nice restaurant, at 8 p.m. And I'm at the Works in Loveland at 9 p.m. So come on down. There's a bunch of shows. It's a very cool part of the city. So hang out and watch me bomb in front of all of my kids' teachers and the parents of their friends and all that kind of stuff where everybody knows me. That's going to be fun. And then I'm in town again next weekend at Dead Low Brewing on the way east side. It's a very cool room, and that's a proper headlining show. It's a very excellent space for comedy, great beer, great wings there. So those tickets are on sale now. And then in November, I'm going to Michigan, Virginia, Oxford, Ohio, Lancaster, and Seattle. So I'll be all over. If you live in any of those places, hit me up, and I'll get you a free ticket to the show. We had some Growl Pals come out to Atlanta. We had a few of them this past weekend. So shout out to all of them for beefing those shows up and making those a good time.
That's awesome. How was it? So it was you and our guy, Josh Sneed, right? Josh is down there for
friends of the show, a friend of the show, Josh Sneed. And we had, I think, like a little handful of Growl Pals in the Atlanta area come out. And I think a few of them had just been to the Carolina game. So I was trying to get them to go to some more games, bring the momentum around and help this team out. They weren't too keen on making all the travel, but they had a good time at the show, which is important.
That's awesome. All right. Let's see. What do we got? Dad life. You got some dad life to wrap us up?
Oh yeah. So my big thing is my kids are big YouTubers, right? You spend money on every streaming service there is, and the Netflix and Disney and Hulu's and YouTube TVs, and what they end up watching mostly is just YouTube. And we're in election season, which is so fun. It's so fun to have a team that's 1-4, barely hanging on, when the alternative is just wall-to-wall election coverage. That's exciting. But even on little kid streaming videos and cartoons and stuff, they've got political ads, just political ad after ad after ad after ad. My kids have so many opinions now on Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno and stuff. And it's just amazing that's even in the vernacular of a 4-year-old. But I do feel like that's just an untapped market. We should have gotten in on all this election money they keep throwing around. If they're spending money on little kid YouTube videos, they should have thrown some money at a football podcast. We could have really mucked this up with some political ads on this. And then I also feel like we're at the point as a society where they should just start making the most pandering ads, right? Like on the football games, it should just be all sports related, just talking shit, like Sherrod Brown thinks that the Steelers are trash, and just very pandery like that. Bernie Marino wants to go to DC to clean up the corrupt Kansas City biased officials. Just straight stuff that football fans want to hear, and try and win the votes that way.
I think that's 100% what they need to do. 100% what they need to do. I think you need to be just focusing on attacking Patrick Mahomes in every single political ad.
I mean, I feel like you'll get
where
some
you're
movement.
running in this country. I think people would mostly get behind that outside of in Kansas City.
I mean, you look at every political ad, they're just throwing, red meat to their base anyway. Are you telling me that if Sherrod Brown had an ad that was like, the price of a stadium beer is too high, that wouldn't get people excited?
100%.
That's a winning message. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
They could be making a ton of money off that. What's going on in your world?
It's so funny because there's so many events that are, it's the season where there's gymnastics and there's dance and there's running club and there's it's just a million different things. There's Girl Scouts, everybody's involved, and we're just trying to keep up. Well, what happens is, you end up in so many situations where, okay, you're going up and all right, the big one is doing soccer. Well, the little one will come with me and we'll play. It's at the school or whatever. Well, what's happened is a lot of the younger siblings who also all know each other have started making plans without telling the parents and are just basically dragging their parents up to the playground area near where these other practices are. If one of them is going to be there, knowing that they all want to go meet up and play together. And it was the parent the other day when I took my youngest up and she was like, oh no, I want to go with you to the soccer practice. Like, oh, okay, fine. You can come with me. I'm just going to be sitting over by the playground. You can play. Well, yeah, she did that because her and her two other friends had all decided that they were going to do that and all convinced and dragged their parents over there. She's like, yeah, I think that Maeve is going to be here. And I'm like, what do you mean you think she's going to be here? And then there she was. And I was like, did you guys all get together and plan this all out and drag all of us here? I think they did. They're in cahoots. They're really working some advanced plans considering they're just kindergartners to lure us all to the playground so they can get some extra time to play together. It was really impressive. It makes me pretty concerned for what happens next. When they get a little bit more, it's going to be sort of like the Velociraptors working in cohesion in Jurassic Park. I just think we're all
they're going to be opening doors.
Yeah, it's not going to be good. I feel like we're very close to that point right now anyway, but I was like, wow, you guys organized this all, didn't you?
If they can pull that together in kindergarten and you give them a couple more years and throw in some cell phones into the mix, coming down the pipeline, you're in trouble. There's no getting around that. If they're scheming this well to get what they want and it's happening at kindergarten age, I don't think you stand any chance once junior high comes around and the planning that's going to come into that. The mall hangs, the movies. It's going to be a real nightmare.
Mall hangs. Yeah.
The idyllic childhood of 2020s.
At that point, right?
Yeah. That's my go-to. Every kid loves going to the mall these days.
Yeah. Who loves going? No, I mean, that honestly, that would be the one thing I might put my foot down on is no, you're not going to go to the abandoned Forest Fair Mall. Okay. You're not going there. No mall hangs. All right.
Yeah. You think that they're all going to be meeting up to do homework and then they're going to be making TikToks in abandoned malls is what's going to be happening.
It's all very possible. I don't want to think about any of that right now. I'll take playground meetups. I'll take that right now.
For sure.
All right. Mark, appreciate it. You enjoy bombing in front of friends and family. I'm sure that you won't. I'm sure you're just talking yourself into that. But people go out and see the Loveland show, support that. And Jay and I will be back with the walkout sometime in the middle of the night, Monday morning, technically, as we will record that. I'll be in New York. Jay will still be on the homestead, but we will have the walkout waiting for you when you wake up on Monday morning, and we'll see. The tone could be quite negative, so it's a lot on the line.
Or it could be positive. We could be getting back on track.
Or it could be very, very positive. Who knows? It's going to be fun. Hope everybody enjoys the game, and then we'll be back with you with the full slate of shows again next week. Have a good one, everybody.